सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Can you all hear clearly? Yesterday, after the example of the tortoise, यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियस्यार्थे तेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Just like the tortoise can have the free will to pull its limbs back into the shell, similarly, this man of wisdom has the capacity to be in the world and yet not be influenced by that worldliness, because that individual has the beautiful capacity to withdraw his sense organs and the mind from being influenced by the world that he is present in. Now, this should not be interpreted as just like when I have taken a vow and I withdraw from the world and interaction, but then when I get back into the world, my sense organs, they're not just desiring to be indulging, they're craving to be indulging. The intensity is very, very large. That I am almost missing indulging in the world. Is this man of wisdom of the same nature? So here in the next shloka it is said, which we have already seen, is that this man of wisdom Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva eva nivartate. That this rasa that is there for the world of happening, that is what we are all searching for. The eyes search for the rasa of forms. So each organ is searching for its sense of meaningfulness, its sense of artha. So it is running after the world. Now, having seen that which it is seeking is already there as a fountain in its own nature, therefore it doesn't find it necessary to go out into the world. Go out into the world seeking and searching that happiness, that satisfaction, that sense of security from the world outside. Why? I already have it and have it in plenty. Therefore, I don't need to go out into the world seeking to be indulging in it. And it is only that person who is established in the very true nature, which is my own self. Such one doesn't seek in the world outside. Up until then, there is a high probability that every good seeker, though wants to be steadfast in their path, as Gurudev used to put it, there is always a slip between the cup and the lip. It can happen. So we saw the example of Maharshi Vishwamitra. He was not interested in Brahma Vidya actually. He wanted to be as powerful as. Because Vashishta stopped the entire army with just a mantra danda. He said, how can that be possible? This is because I am Brahmarshi. So he also wanted to become a Brahmarshi because it was a comparison. And through his life he falls so many times, slips so many times. And yet, the beauty of this great master was that he never gave up. The harder he fell, the sooner he got up and went back into the track. Whereas somehow, when we start this path of spirituality and have a slip up, we lose the complete hope and faith in ourselves. This maybe it is not for me. I am not made for this spiritual world, and give up. So in order to indicate that, in the 60th shloka, repeat after me. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. Yatataha api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. The indriyas and the various layers that are engaged in interacting with the world, prasabham, with a lot of force, violently. Haranti, they take us away from the path. Therefore, in every scripture, there is a preparatory qualification that is mentioned for every seeker. It is called sadhana chatushtaya, viveka vairagya. The third one, shamadhi shatguna sampatti, shama dama uparama titiksha shraddha samadhana. This is in the Vedanta Vichara. If you look into the Ashtanga Yoga, which is what prescribes pranayama and yogasana, before we even think of attempting at pranayama and yogasana, there are first limbs that have to be focused upon, and that is called yama niyama. Just like shama and dama, yama and niyama is prescribed in the Ashtanga Yoga. Yama, control and disciplining one's own external organs. Niyama, control and disciplining the internal organs, which is the mind and the intellect. Dhamma, in the Vedanta Vichara, is control of the external organs. Organs of perception and organs of action. Shama is the control of the internal equipment, mind. These are the basic steps. Even today, when the parent is talking to their children who seem to be distracted because of different sizes of screens, whether it is their phone, whether it is their tablet, whether it is their laptop or TV screen, seem to be very distracted with it. And we tell them, we yell at them, saying, why don't you focus on your studies? But we seldom tell them how to focus. What do you mean by that focal point? The control and disciplining of the organs of perception action is the first step. Without that, the rest of it, which is subtler than these organs of perception and action, becomes that much more difficult. Because some can argue, to have this discipline, I should have the mind in balance. Without the mind in balance, how can I discipline the organs of perception action? The organs of perception action being gross in nature, there can be gross techniques that can be implemented with which they can be disciplined. Like, for example, one can have a discipline that until I finish my early morning japa and dhyana or puja japa dhyana, I will not partake with the morning breakfast. A simple discipline. Where you can envision various such methods. A gross disciplinary action taken so that the external organs can be controlled. Maybe if you cannot have control, tell the people at home. If you see that I am coming to the breakfast table without doing my puja and japa, don't serve me food. That which is influencing from the outside to control the organs of perception and action. It can also be a reward system. That I reward my mind that if the organs of perception action are involved in that sadhana, then I give it a reward of breakfast. However you want to look at it. The grosser is the organs of perception action. Even within the organs of perception action, the organs of action are grosser, organs of perception are subtler. Therefore, Sant Jnaneshwar Maharaj, in his commentary on Gita, he says very beautifully in the 7th chapter, the best way to start this Yama Niyama or Shama Dama is to start with having a control on the tongue. Why? Because it is a dual organ. On one side it is organ of perception, on the other side it is also the organ of action. Speech and taste. Both happen through that particular medium. So develop that control wherein I can access the balance of my organs at will. So what I speak, when I speak, how not to speak, and most importantly, when to shut up, when to keep quiet. That is also a very important discipline. See, wise men do not have to prove themselves. So even if there is somebody speaking, they will not take it as a challenge and keep blabbering. They know when to speak. Hindi में कहावत है, 100 सोनार की, 1 लोहार की. When they do speak, it is so powerful and impactful. One word, one sentence, it is enough to have that kind of a balance on speech. And with regards to the taste, whatever is served, take it as prasada. Sometimes it has salt. Sometimes it doesn't have salt. Sometimes it has more than required salt. See, when at home, when I was living at home, when this Shraddha karma is to be done, one particular Panditji used to come regularly. And whenever he used to come, we kids at home never liked his presence. Not because he was anything bad. Because until he eats, we don't get food that day. Therefore, we didn't like him. He would come late, say around 10:30, 11, set up his whole thing, and by the time he has done the Shraddha Karma, it is 2:30, and then he has to be fed. He is the first, he has to eat. And he had this habit. It's only later, after becoming brahmachari, I understood what great sanctified way of life that he was living. Every morsel of food that he would eat, he would utter 3 times Govinda, Govinda, Govinda and eat. And we used to think, har baar ye Govinda, 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 ye jaldi khana. And that was what our focus was on at that time. One day he came, he ate, he left, he went to wash his hands. Then all the kids sat down. Something was served, and as we were eating, it was so salty. None of us wanted to eat it. And the people that were serving us, the ladies that were serving, they all turned to him and said, "You didn't even utter a word, you ate it." So he said, అదేముందమ్మా, ఒక్కొక్కసారి ఎక్కువైనప్పుడు అన్నం ఎక్కువ కలుపుకుంటాము, తక్కువైనప్పుడు అన్నం తక్కువ కలుపుకుంటాము. The way he took it as everything that was served, without complaint, taking it as prasada buddhi. Eat on a disciplined time. It cannot be a stretchable time, a range of time. Breakfast 7:30 to 9:30. Lunch 12 to 2. Dinner, there are people that I know who start cooking at 9:30, 10 o'clock. कब कुक करोगे, कब खाओगे? Late at night. It's almost like a midnight snack. Keep one particular time and stick to it. A certain amount of discipline. Wake up early in the morning. Now, how early should be decided by you. If presently the earliest morning that you can see is 9 o'clock, then you should aim for 8:30. Suddenly from 9 o'clock you should aim for 4:30. It will be impossible. One day it may be possible, but after that for few months, you will never think about waking up early. Shanaihi uparamet. Slowly you have to move that target and come to a point wherein you wake up early, meaning you have to sleep early. A discipline that you have to set. Now, if this discipline is not there, what happens? The mind is addicted to its own patterns of bhogasakti. Those things that which it likes, that alone it should be served. When life is not that luxurious that whatever I demand, that alone can be served. There will be all kinds of things that will happen. See, after taking to this path and becoming a brahmachari, that is when I understood how pampered was I when I was living back at home. Because as a brahmachari, every meal is in a different house, a different bhiksha. Who serves what is not in my hand. Though, fortunately, everything that was served with love. First posting of mine as a brahmachari was in Vijayawada. Up until then, being at home, very mild, bland food. Now, Vijayawada, in spite of me telling and requesting them that I eat only bland food, they said, Kharam assalu iledandi. There is no spice at all. And that food gave me ulcers within 3 months. I decided, if this is what is my lifestyle, I should change my threshold. Because who will serve what kind of food? It is not guaranteed. Now I thought I now have acclimatized myself to throw myself into any kind of environment and I will accept. Then I was shifted to America. That is when I realized that the food, if it doesn't end, especially for a southern Indian, the food has to end with curd rice. In America is that environment wherein they take the pride in serving, Swamiji, homemade curd, as if it is a big skill. अब करना क्या है, दूध गरम करना है, add some curd in it, and rest of it does. As though you are sitting there, tukur ताकते रहो तो कुछ नहीं होता. And then the claim is homemade curd, Swamiji. So curd was like a premium, and not everybody would serve. So I would wait, come back to the ashram, and have a bowl of curd. That is when I would feel satiated. Then I realized how my mind is addicted to that pattern. I'm just taking one example of food. There are so many things that our organs of perception action are addicted to those patterns. And I am consciously using the word addiction. Just like any other vices which are addiction, these things that where we find comfort are also equally an addiction. And if those things are not served in that pattern, in that order, there is an agitation at the organs level. Then the mind has its own patterns. Though some are declared publicly having OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, each one of us have a small dose of that OCD. Andariki avaginjanta, kondariki gumadkayanta. This is the saying. Everybody has that worry. If things don't go in that particular order, the mind gets agitated. And it has its own attractions. Now, once you have understood that the organs of action, organs of perception, and the mind have their own patterns, poor buddhi, in every single interaction, gives the first thought of the correct direction to the organs of perception action through the mind. The first thought. But who overrides it? Our own mind overrides it. A good example, in your cell phone, do you set alarm? How many of you set more than one alarm? No, I'm not asking you to answer. It's like recognize the pattern is what I'm trying to say. I know of the younger generation, for waking up they have 15 alarms. 5:55, 6 o'clock, 6:05, 6:10, 6:15. All this for what? For waking up. The point is, it is me, the buddhi, that is deciding to wake up at a given time. Who is overriding it? It is my own mind which is reacting to it and overriding it, not allowing me to stick to that discipline. So at each one of these layers, from grosser to the subtler, organs of action, organs of perception, mind, intellect, everything is going contrary to the earlier layer of subtlety. So every layer there is a friction that is happening. It is going against. That means it is going against the grain. There is a friction. And every time there is a friction, there is a tapa, manastapa that is built. A pressure, a stress level that is built. Therefore, living my own life with discipline seems like an overwhelming task. And imagine if this field of discipline is not self-invoked, it is not self-discipline, discipline of the self by the self. If it is from somebody, some other agency from outside, there is constantly reaction to that. When I see the children and I remember my childhood days, in the school there is a school uniform. And what is the day that everybody in the school eagerly waits for? That one day wherein it is your birthday. You don't need to wear uniform. You want to break that discipline. Or you have to regularly wear shoes and the entire set. Even for the slightest cause, you would wear this big bandage and say, therefore came in chappal. Coming in chappal is a happy thing. Why? Because the regular discipline, I am challenging and breaking it. There is constant resistance if it is an outside agency. In the Dallas Chinmaya mission, even now when they come to visit, they say, Swamiji, we were scared of you. Why? If they come to the mission, I would insist that they come in their Indian best, Indian attire. वो पता चला कि शॉर्ट्स में आ गए, स्पेगेटी में आ गए, नूडल्स में आ गए. If your purpose for coming here is to teach culture, tradition, customs to your next generation, you should be representing that. So clothing was very, very important. And then as you enter in, you better be turning your cell phones off. If it rings, they were expected to pay a donation of $100 for each ring. And it was not a suggestion. I would stop and there would be a volunteer and say, go collect it first. It is the same people when they go for other meetings, they are very watchful. And here they are taking it for granted, but meaning they are not taking it, giving it a real value to it. So if you are somebody that knows that your phones should not be disturbing others in certain environment, why should you take this environment for granted? I would never call it a fine. Because it was not fine that their cell phones should ring. And you should see how the new membership, when they would come, they would react to these. Very simple thing, wear Indian clothes. ज्यादा कुछ नहीं बोल रहा हूं मैं. So somebody once said, you mean to say that I have to come in dhoti? I said, yes, challenge me. Because I'm the only one wearing dhoti. You challenge me by wearing better than me. But what if there is an emergency? Mute to kar sakte ho. You can put it in a vibration mode. There is that reaction because it is an outside agency. It has to be invoked by the self for the self. And then I commit to what I am invoking as a discipline. Mind will keep suggesting loopholes. It is like a lawyer or a chartered accountant whose job is to find loopholes in the system. Our mind is also like that. It tries to find loopholes in the decisions that I have made, why it is okay to not live up to it. Haranti prasabham manaha. All these patterns, they snatch my vision of balance, vision of that control, vision of that accessibility to my own organs of perception, action, mind and intellect. And I act contradicting my own self. Over a lifetime of such contradictions lived, I do not have any trust in my own capacities. And such one, when they come here of the higher practices that can be practiced, you listen to it in wonderment, which is what we saw in the second chapter earlier. Ascharyavat pasyati kaschidenam, ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha. You only listen to it in wonderment. And then doubt yourself that maybe this is not for me. Imagine if a despondent Arjuna's mind could be repaired within 50 shlokas, understanding it and applying it in our life, definitely we can also bring in a change. And don't tell me that, oh, Swamiji, why say Poindandi? Arjuna was 89. So don't even compare yourself saying that, age we have, crossed. Anything younger than that, it is a possibility. See, the beauty of this second chapter through the Sthita Prajna Lakshana is every aspect is so meticulously, logically organized. So Bhagavan takes into the next step. Is this control like a suppression or is it something else? That aspect is taken into discussion. 61st shloka, repeat after me. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita madparaha vashe yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. Whenever a Western mindset watches the Indian system, the Indian traditions and culture, they often brand our way of life as a very oppressed way of life. When discipline not understood properly, it often seems like it is a very oppressive environment. Very convincingly, it looks like a very oppressing environment. Now, Bhagavan, in his beautiful way of approach, he is not just talking about controlling the organs of perception, action and mind, but also evolving and rechannelizing the energy thus saved into a better channel. Both aspects have to be taken into consideration simultaneously. Vashehi yasyendriyani, having taken control on the organs of perception, action and the mind, that energy which has been conserved, tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. Now divert that entire equipment to the source within. See, when you suddenly put a dam on a river, what will happen? The force with which the river is flowing, the volume of water that it is flowing with, the dam will collapse. So here, the lifestyle that is being explained is not trying to suffocate all the organs of perception, action and mind into discipline. That energy which is dissipated out through these organs and the mind is contained, and once it is contained and gathered, that has been channelized to something higher. Now here I would like to take a step aside and focus on the very topic of concentration of mind. There is X amount of energy in the system. There are 10 organs, 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action. And the mind has 10 gateways to run away from the system. Every movement that it has, it is taking that X amount of energy and dissipating it through these different channels. And it is consistently doing from the moment that you are awake till the moment that you are asleep. In today's world, the kind of work that we do is not that kind of a labor-intensive work, like how we used to do 40, 50 years ago. And yet, our feeling of drained existence is higher and higher as we get sophisticated. Why is it that we feel so drained? It's because the amount of energy that we are generating is consistently being dissipated. If there is a pot and you are trying to fill that pot with water, not knowing that the pot has a crack in it, what will happen to the water that you are trying to save in it? It will keep leaking. Every untrained individual is like that crackpot. Pun intended. All the energies are being dissipated. So, controlling and channelizing, bringing all that energy back, containing it. But just containing it and not showing it a proper direction will be another chaotic psychological breakdown. It is not just about stopping. Having stopped, how do I channelize it? And how do I channelize it in the right direction? Therefore, when we were growing up, we were told, sit in a place. Sit in a place so that you are not disturbing anybody and nobody can disturb you. And study properly. Or do whatever you have to do properly by dedicating a space, a time for that particular act. Withdraw your mind indulging in other activities while you are focused. Gurudev very beautifully, aptly puts it. Put your head where your hands are. You're working here, put your mind completely involved in that particular engagement. Don't try to snub the mind which is running out. Instead, flood it with the intensity of this work that you are engaged in. So one aspect is the first, gather the accessibility of our own organs of perception and action. If you have the access, then you can think of controlling it. If you don't have access, control तो बहुत दूर की बात है. So first gain the access. After you have the accessibility, then each organ of perception action has to be balanced. Each one of these act in different times of the day and experience in different modulation. This is called the fluctuation through various gunas. In the early morning, our equipment is supposed to be in a sattvic mode. As the sun rises up, we shift the gear into rajasic mode. By the time we reach back home and have our dinner, it has come down to the tamasic mode. So tamasic, I don't know if it has ever happened. I have seen these things happen. While watching TV, the remote which is in your hand falls. And you have no clue that it has fallen. You already slept. Has it ever happened late at night you are trying to talk and you are so tired that you have fallen asleep? Hua kabhi? And the other person calls you back laughing at you saying, yesterday while we were talking, I think you slept off. The tamasic nature takes over. So the organs of perception, action, mind also go through that modulation. In the morning, it is in a sattvic, balanced attitude. By the late in the morning, it starts getting activated, rajasic, getting into the action. By evening, it gets tired. This is how naturally the system should work. Ask the present generation. They have a certain term for it. I am not a morning person. I am a night owl. Have you heard of that? I cannot bring myself to focus in the morning. I can manage very well at night times. It is because our sleeping in and waking up has been completely off the mark. What do you call it? Circadian rhythm, right? That has been completely knocked out, completely shaken up. That when we have to sleep, we feel energetic and alive. That when we have to wake up, at that time we are not able to pull ourselves to senses. In the morning is the most sattvic time. In fact, when you go into the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, he specifies clearly that to do this pranayama and yogasana kriya, it has to be early in the morning, not during the daytime. Because that is when the cycle of the body is in the most apt condition, where the entire chemistry inside, the chemicals inside, are channelized towards doing it. Sometimes I stand outside, I see people going for a walk and a jog, middle of the afternoon. Bichare ko must have gotten time only then. And we complain saying, I have been trying, nothing works. Do it in the morning. Because in the sattvic environment, that is when it has to be done. If you look into the Ayurvedic, by the time the mind becomes Rajasic, the Pitta Guna has taken over. And when the Pitta Guna has taken over, you should not be doing exercises then. It is contradicting your body nature. Vedanta, Ashtanga Yoga, and I have also touched upon Ayurveda. These are all our own ancient systems. Though our ancestors have said this as a discipline and said, wake up in the morning and do it, they have not explained all these things. Now, what is the purpose of all this discipline to be instilled? So that the energies are gathered and contained, not dissipated. That contained energy has to be now turned within to that higher self within. And what is the process of channelizing it to the higher? Puja, japa, dhyana, and nididhyasana is the method to turn this within. Therefore, he says, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. Turn it towards that self within, the higher self within. Such one who can control their own organs of perception and action and the mind at will. Such one is called Tasya Prajna Pratisthita. We all know the story of Mahabharata where Yudhishthira has been advised that in the proximity of Dronacharya, announce Ashwathama Hataha. You have all heard that story? Right as Dronacharya hears this statement, his center of life, his purpose of life was Ashwathama. When he hears that Ashwathama is no more, and why did he believe that? Because that statement was made by Yudhishthira. Right in that Ranaranga, right in that Yuddha Bhumi, he gets off the chariot. Imagine, it is not like the traffic here. The traffic itself is chaos. In the Ranaranga, where there are about 4.5 million people running around, just the human count. 18 Akshohinis, each Akshohini having approximately around 250,000 people. So 250,000 into 18. That much of sound being made. He comes, sits down right in that Ranabhumi. Withdraws his senses and mind from his body. Channelizes his energy back to the source, the self within. And quits the body. Wherever there is this willed act of bringing all the energy back to the source and then withdrawing any connection with the body, mind and intellect and merging it into the highest and leaving the body, the word used is called Panchattvam Vilinaha. When a person who does not have that control, it is said Panchattvam Gataha. When somebody dies, ordinary human dying, when it is mentioned in the Puranas and the Vedic literature, it is mentioned as Panchattvam Gataha. They have gone back to the cycle of the Panchamahabhutas, Panchattvam Gataha. Whereas somebody who has withdrawn, the word used is Panchattvam Vilinaha. All these components have been merged into their own nascent source. Completely disconnecting, there is no more trait for them to have another birth. Where did he accomplish this? Right on the battlefield. Bhishmacharya, the grandfather, he waited upon the right muhurta, and as soon as that muhurta came in, he asks Bhagwan to stand in front of him because he can see him. And then fixing his entire focus on Bhagwan's Swarupa, he withdraws from the body, quitting the body. Meaning what? That very step which is being taught here was a regular practice that they had practiced for their entire life, that it was under their control, that they could bring their organs of perception action into the mind into the buddhi into the self, and from the self, withdrawing completely, not connecting back to the body, mind and intellect, once and for all. Jivan eva muktah, tasya prajna pratisthita. This method, where in the last moment they can do it, is called videha mukti. Such one who has the control. In Viveka Chudamani, there is a mention of 5 different species, jantu. Each one not having control over one particular organ. Puranga, Matanga, Patanga, Meena. It seems when the hunter goes to hunt the deer, they don't have to run and chase it. Along with the hunter, there is a good flautist, somebody who can play a good flute. As soon as they sit down to play the flute, wherever the deer is, it freezes to pay attention, keen attention to that sound and the music. The moment the hunter sees that this deer is lost into that music, it becomes an easy target. You don't have to run and chase it. You stop it and hunt it. Just because it does not have control over its hearing, it loses its life. The elephant does not have a control over its sense of touch, especially during the mating season. It loses its life. Of all the species, the gluttonous one who doesn't mind eating as many times that you feed it is the fish. And how do you bait it? To the hook, you add something which looks like food and it comes rushing, catches it, inside it hooks in, and it loses its life. The firefly, especially during the rainy season, there are these flies that are born only for a night. Especially where there are these street lights. In the early morning, if you see, there will be like a suicide squad. Feathers on one side, body on one side. Are you recognizing what fly I am talking about? Just they're born for one night. And what is their sense perception which is not under their control? Wherever there is light and fire, they rush towards it. Even if somebody were to stop them saying, Baba mar jaoge, hut, बाकी सब जा रहे हैं, मुझे भी जाने दे. They crash into it, die. 5 organs, 5 not in control, they die. Human being, none of the organ is under control. Can we really claim that at least one organ is in control? Can we claim that the mind is in control? One by one, these layers have to be brought into accessibility, then having the balanced control, then channelizing those energies within. Such one who has that ability to withdraw the organs of perception, action, and the mind at will, such one has their buddhi in the self pratisthita. Tasya prajna pratisthita. Now comes the most beautiful analysis. In the field of psychology, there is Freud, there is Carl Jung, there are so many others after that. Better than what they have said, what they have presented, these next two shlokas beats all the psychology out there. I mean, read through so many other aspects of psychology, psychiatry, and but nothing so profoundly presented as we are going to see in the next two shlokas. And Gurudev used to call these two shlokas as the ladder of fall. Why is it that we are not able to have that sense of control over our organs of perception, action, mind and intellect? Why do we so readily slip and fall every step of our way? The logic behind it, that has been understood and presented. So the next two shlokas, we will read it together and see the meaning. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Now the word that these two shlokas start with, it starts with Dhyayataha Vishayan Pumsaha. Dhyana of the outside world is the path for falling down. Dhyana of the inside world is the path for rising up. The method seems to be the same. The method is dhyana. Dhyayataha Vishayan Pumsaha. As soon as the organs of perception and action open up to the world outside, where there is a prompt, there is a trigger, the mind starts thinking about it. All the fall begins with thinking, uncontrolled thinking. Dhyayataha Vishayan Pumsaha. As soon as there is that thinking process triggered, Dhyayataha Vishayan Pumsaha, there is a sense of attachment. Sangaha Teshu Upajayate. In our own mind, there is an attachment to that which we are thinking born. Upajayate. Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. Wherever there is attachment born, Sanjayate, simultaneously there is desire, born. Jayate, born. Sanjayate, simultaneously born is the desire. So what is the sequence? You start thinking. As soon as you start thinking, there is a attachment. Wherever there is an attachment, there is desire born. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. One clause here is not taken into consideration when the desire is fulfilled. When the desire is fulfilled, you have the sense of indulgence and bhoktrutva asakti, you enjoy it. That is not taken into discussion. The other end of it, the other end of the spectrum, when that desire does not get fulfilled, that desire unfulfilled yields kamat krodha abhijayate. Anger is triggered. Wherever the anger gets amplified, krodhat bhavati sammoha. Mohaha, deluded. Sammoha is not like little bit of moha. That sam is not an English sam. In Sanskritam, sammoha means comprehensively deluded from all directions. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammohat, wherever that complete delusion happens, the internal switch of the buddhi, which has the innate capacity to direct us in the right direction, that connection gets short-circuited. Sammohat, smriti. Smriti meaning there is a sense of memory. See, wherever I am interacting, that interactions I have created a pattern inside. In my chitta, there is a dynamic memory and that dynamic memory immediately triggers. अरे पता है पिछली बार इसी रूट में गए थे तो क्या हुआ था? It is trying to tell you that fallback safety net is also turned off. Where the buddhi gets turned off, smriti also gets turned off. At the very end, in the 18th chapter, where Bhagavan says, Arjuna, all that which I can teach, I have already taught to you. Ethechasi tatha kuru. Now it is up to you what you decide to do. There, Arjuna's response, the words that he uses, he says, Nashto moha smritir labdha. In the 18th chapter, he says, my moha has been completely wiped away and I have been reconnected to the smriti. My own sense of memory to decide and guide me what is right and wrong. Wherever the buddhi is overtaken, there smriti vibhramaha. That smriti is completely clouded. See, many students, when they go into exam, it's not that they have not prepared for the exam. It is not that they don't know that question or the answer to that question. But in their anxiety, in their fear, what happens? This smriti gets clouded. As soon as they step outside, the same question paper, when they look at it again, and their heart sinks. Why? ये क्वेश्चन तो मुझे इतनी अच्छी तरह से मालूम था. अंदर क्या हुआ? काले अक्षर भैंस बराबर. Nothing was recognizable. Why? That smriti got completely switched off. Smriti pramshat buddhi nasha. The viveka quality of the buddhi gets completely destroyed. And wherever that buddhi is destroyed, what happens? Complete fall of that individual. Buddhi nashat. See, Bhagavan could have said, Vedavyasji could have used the word nashyati. What does he use here? He says pranashyati. It's not just destroyed, profoundly destroyed. Where does it all begin? It begins from dhyayataha. It starts from the first thought. Having just the first thought is not a sin. It is recognizing a fact. Have you ever plucked a flower or a mango from a tree directly? Yes or no? Which mango is tastier? That which I have plucked from my tree, or the neighbor's branch that is peeping into your backyard? Which mango is attractive? मिल गया ना जवाब? You saw the mango. You bent down, looked at its size, its color. You are a connoisseur of mango. As soon as you see, you can tell. Kacha hai, pakka hai, acha hai, ganda hai. You can see it and tell. The color is also changing. Orangish, reddish hue on one side. Greenish yellow on the other side. As soon as you see, the first thought, wow, a good mango. That first thought, there is never anything wrong with it. What has the mind done? It has recognized something, and in that recognition, there is no intent. The trouble starts when that thought becomes a repetitive pattern where the thought now has become dhyana. You have started a train of thought on that particular theme. Vastu is existing. I recognize it. It is a pristine thought. But then, immediately the second thought. The mango seems to be inviting me. Are oh Sarveshananda, pick me. Pick me. The mango is crying for me. गाना है ना, आजा प्यारे पास हमारे, काहे घबराए. So mango is calling out for me. I started thinking, if I could now go pluck that mango. So that thought has now been amplified. The intensity has increased. Now it has mobilized me from my window, out the door, into the backyard, close to that tree, to that branch where that mango is hanging. As I get near to it, my hand goes almost to that mango to pluck. I forget to be watchful. The neighbor is watching from his window. And he gives us a heads up. He gives us a hint. मतलब क्या? ये भैया हम देख रहे हैं. And you also say, a good mango. You want me to pluck it for you? But if nobody is watching, dhyayataha vishayan pumsaha, there is a sense of attachment, sangaha upajayate. And as soon as there is that attachment, there is immediately a desire born for it. This three steps is what the entire MBA of marketing and advertising have mastered. What do they do? Sensorily indulging, they create ads, advertisements. They are marketing it for our mind. See, even if it is not that marketing, somebody has gone watched a movie. What was the recent movie that everybody asked me to watch? हाँ, क्या वो दुरंदर. स्वामी जी आपने देखा क्या बढ़िया है. A thought is inserted in your head. Various number of people inserting the same thought in your head. You own the thought and thereby churning the thought into a pattern. As soon as the thought churns into a pattern, there is a attachment born to that thought. Wherever there is that attachment, there is a desire born, there is a craving born. An eczema of craving is ignited. Medically, what does eczema mean? A severe aberration on the skin wherein you feel like a severe itching sensation. And you feel very satisfied when you are scratching on it. As soon as you stop scratching, what happens? You start hurting. The eczema of that craving is ignited. Now the desire has taken complete grip on your mind. You are coming to the satsang, lifestyle mall and all the shops. You saw a sari or a necklace or something. You stopped, paused for a moment. Acha hai. There's nothing wrong in recognizing. But as you walked from that acha hai to this satsanga, you started weaving different patterns of owning it. Sangha got created. Desire now is, it has taken a different volume of amplified nature. You go back home. You want to ask, I want to buy it. And he says, I'll tell you tomorrow. And that fellow comes back and says, okay, it will be a little difficult, but you go buy. By the time you came back to that shop to buy, that piece already sold out. What happens inside? Kamat krodhaha abhijayate. Now, krodha also, it is just the triggering factor. Now, anger becomes rage. And when that takes that ugly format of rage, in that rage, sammoha, you lose sense of the right or wrong. You're just consumed by, I need to have it, I must have it. That sammoha, when it gets again further amplified, my switch inside, my safety net, the smriti, that gets completely broken down. And I get consumed by my own rage and anger. And in that, buddhi stops working. Don't we know that getting angry is bad? When do we realize getting that anger was bad? It is always a posthumous reality, after the fact. And thereby, our entire heart is filled with regrets and guilt. I shouldn't have scolded. I shouldn't have lost my temper. Why? That buddhi is switched off. And wherever that buddhi is switched off, there is no hope for such individual. Because they are gone. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. If this is the ladder of fall, then what is the ladder of sadhana and raise? That gets highlighted in Bhaja Govindam, 9th shloka. This gives a sequential order of how we fall. That gives us the sequential order of how we can correct ourselves and raise up. Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Nissangatve Nirmohatvam. Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam. Nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. Because whatever these two shlokas have been saying, we already are experts at it. We don't have just a PhD in it, we have a postdoc. After research, we have produced several papers, several anubhuti on this particular two shlokas. Because that has been our normal pattern in our life. How do I clip it and grow out of it? How do I cut it short and grow out of it? Method is simple. Constantly being in satsanga. Constantly being in satsanga does not mean that you become professional satsangi. Why have you come to the satsanga? Thoda sa punya aa jayega mathematically. You don't get into satsanga to gain punya. Satsanga is the result of all your punya acquired. So what is the sign that I am actually benefiting from satsanga? Wherever satsanga is rightly applied, it has to bring into my buddhi strength of viveka. To be able to discriminate between what is required, what is not required, what is permanent and what is temporary. That is how the willpower the power is given to that will. Viveka has to be seen reflecting. Has Viveka taken a good grip on our life? How do we know it? Wherever there is Viveka, Moha is removed. In other words, wherever there is no Moha, Vairagya becomes natural. I am not influenced by it. I am not trying to avoid the world or avoid or shy away from it. It is there, not there, doesn't disturb me anymore. Wherever that moha, that delusion is removed, antakarana is less of turbulence, less of restlessness. Nishchalatva, there is shanti within. That day when I have reached to that sanctum sanctorum of peace within, understand, a sadhaka in me is born. That platform of shanti within is the sign of U-turn of the mind. If that shanti is not gained, we are yet not there. Once that shanti is experienced, it is such a beautiful platform. However tumultuous the outside world of happening may be, you quickly retreat back into that sanctum sanctorum of your peace. Standing there, you evaluate all the happenings. You will find solutions. Because you are least disturbed by it. And that has to be constructed by you meticulously, brick by brick. That is when a seeker is born in the individual. Nischala tatve, wherever that mind at will can reach back to its quietude within, that mind can be taken to the source, the higher within. Not otherwise. Hopefully I have gotten across the entire sequence. Is it clear? I'll stop here. I know I have about 7 minutes, but I'll stop here because the next topic will be another elaboration. So we'll stop here early today. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.